What's up? What's up? Earthwax podcast episode 3. I'm Taj.
I'm Jackson.
Yeah, it's going pretty good so far. Last week we had a guest on, our first guest, Eli. That episode went pretty well.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of have a different person, different perspective, and
Right.
another person in the conversation,
Right.
so it doesn't
Yeah.
get old to just have the same two
Yep.
people talking for an
Exactly.
hour every week.
But we're gonna be having guests bi-weekly, every other week.
If we can, of course.
Right, if we can.
Sometimes it might be weird
Yeah.
getting people's schedules to work.
But yeah, we wanna hear people's perspectives. So
have more conversations and add more people to the conversation that is being had.
But yeah, we've been getting a lot of good feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been going pretty good.
Support just overall on the podcast, which is greatly appreciated.
We got
for
200 views on the first episode on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Or 200 plays. That's pretty nice.
It's a lot of human beings.
Yep, for sure.
Or even just one dude playing it a lot of times.
Yeah, shout out to all y'all who watched through the whole podcast, because y'all the goats, man.
Sure.
But yeah, we're looking for more feedback, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we're always looking for ways to improve it more.
Mm-hmm. Right now, the biggest things we want to improve is kind of the audio, because we're both recording off of the same microphone on a little table thing.
It's whatever.
So it works, but
Right.
eventually we want to work on maybe finding some better microphones, plural, to use for the podcast and make the audio quality better and easier to deal with, because we have to find the equidistant place on the table where we're both going to be about the same volume, and then it never really works anyway. And there's always kind of some problems with the audio quality, so I think it'd be better to kind of have separate microphones, or a few or whatever.
True that.
So overall, but if you do have any feedback, of any kind, really, there's
We're
a
also,
lot. Just contact us if you want to tweet at us, I guess.
Exactly. Hell yeah, we got some new social media.
We got social media stuff that we're working on.
But definitely let us know topics that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Because we're always looking for new things that people want to hear about or whatever that we can discuss.
If you have, or just questions about the podcast, about us,
sure.
or just anything that you want us to talk about or answer, and then obviously let us know, emailing us, tweeting at us, commenting on SoundCloud or YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, I'll post the social media links on my Snapchat, which is where most people have me on.
Yeah. And then also we can just put it in our bio on SoundCloud or whatever.
They're all going to be linked or whatever.
We'll put them wherever we can so that it's not too hard to find.
Hell yeah.
I think our email should be on, I know it's on YouTube, but I think it's just Earthwax podcast.
Whatever feedback y'all got, that'd be nice.
For sure.
But yeah, we're working on expanding to new platforms, stuff like that. We're trying to get on Spotify, because SoundCloud is kind of tweaking on us right now. But other than that, I don't know.
For sure. And just I don't know, we want to see what SoundCloud's like and how it works.
Spotify.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. You know what I mean.
Right.
I'm losing my mind.
But yeah, we're working on a lot of new things. We got new ideas for the future, streaming. That would be really nice. We could have live,
doing the podcast live.
Exactly, because we could see comments too, and we could talk about what you guys wanted to talk about live,
and questions you ask on the spot, and if you have questions about what we're talking about while we're talking about
exactly. So we could have the viewers kind of integrated into the podcast.
Yeah, more kind of working together and making you guys a part of it more so.
Because that's what's important. We're doing it for the people and as well for ourselves. You know? So I don't know.
As an outlet for
creative outlets.
Man.
Yep.
I'm telling you. Yep. We've thought about doing some of some stuff with just taking the best moments from the podcast and putting them somewhere.
Yep.
So if you're in a rush and you can't listen to an hour-long podcast, you have somewhere where you can see just the things that we think might be the most valuable to hear about.
Yep.
Or even we've also had a little bit of an idea of maybe as well as the current podcast, doing shorter podcast things parallel, or maybe not as frequently, but
Yep. Shout out to my boy Anton. He gave us that idea.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to listen to a whole hour of podcasts unless you have like a lot of time on your hands.
I mean, you can you can break it up and listen to it over a few times, but sometimes you forget what was happening or things like that. So having different ways for people to interact with the information.
Let us know if you guys would be interested in shorter episodes talking about like one single topic or whatever. Because it would be more focused on like one thing instead of us just kind of like talking
and having a conversation,
which is pretty cool. But you know, we often get sidetracked. So,
but I think for sure, just like if you have any feedback about any of these plans that we end up talking about today, or anything that we've done that you think could be improved or changed or things like that, let us know wherever.
Hell yeah.
Another thing is adding video to the podcast, so people that are watching on YouTube can actually like see us while we're talking. If that's something that people are interested, obviously.
Because then it's a little easier to watch through the whole thing, you know? So,
it gives it adds more stimulus past audio, but we would still obviously upload just the audio to SoundCloud, maybe Spotify if we can get that to work. Maybe eventually like iTunes podcast, whatever the fuck that's called. And just have it in different places so different people can enjoy it or absorb the information how they would like to. Right.
So those are some new ideas. Give us some feedback if you can. Comments on SoundCloud, comments on YouTube. Hit us up on our social medias if you had them.
And we now have a Twitter and an Instagram that we're working on. They should be obviously out by...
also the logo.
We started
making the logo.
Yeah. So I don't know if that'll be done or applied to everything by the time this episode's out.
But if it is, shit. Awesome.
If it is, it is. But we're working on a logo to use as like a profile picture and just kind of put around and use for all sorts of things. But if you're interested in, any sort of like thing that we've talked about or interested in any of the behind the scenes of podcast stuff even that we've been working on, even though we're not experts by any means, we've kind of just been doing this shit,
right? We're just kind of winging it, but it's working. So
it's a little more complex than I thought it would be. I think
it's overall a journey for sure. It's been a journey
for sure, because at first I was like, oh, you just record the audio, you upload it, but it's a little more confusing. But there's been some weird obstacles.
We're having some fun though. That's always all a lot of fun. It's really nice. And it's also
something
seeing people's
to do.
Feedbacks. Exactly.
Something to do. True. So I don't know. I like having something to do with my time.
Exactly.
Other than nothing.
Also, I think it's cool how like other people like spend their time like listening to it. You know, because like y'all.
It gives them something to do with their time as well. Something to add to their.
Shout out to all the people who watch the podcast. Y'all are fucking goats.
For sure.
But.
Yeah, I'm not...
Wait, not y'all are fucking goats, but like y'all are like, y'all are some goats, like the greatest of all time.
But like, how can you be the greatest if there's more than one?
That's true. You know what? That's factual information right there.
I mean, I guess people can be the greatest in different aspects of different things, but in this situation,
that's true, bro. That's
who knows, man? I don't know if goats or greatest of all time works. Maybe it's the goods of all time or some stupid shit. Very true. But I'm not too sure. If there's anything that we're kind of missing as far as like missing like a point or missing like a thing that you guys would want,
an aspect of the podcast,
and like if there's something that's obviously gonna be something that you guys might latch on to more, or something that you personally are like, okay, I would enjoy this a lot more.
Yeah, positive feedback. It's fucking awesome. I really encourage it.
Yeah, just like
but also constructive criticism is like some of the best, because then we can learn and change ourselves.
Because it's hard to know what to improve if no one's saying that you're doing something that doesn't need improvement.
Yeah, don't be afraid to hurt our feelings because we wanna improve.
Yeah, so it's about improving. It's not even necessarily it's not all about us at all. Really, it's about you guys too.
Exactly.
So be assertive and make sure it's something that you guys are interested in. I think that kind of applies to a lot of things in life.
Hell yeah.
Not worrying as much about other people and trying to focus on yourself and stuff like that. And
hey, man. Preach. I've been trying to work on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of the things we talk about, obviously, it's easy to say and it's a lot harder to actually do. Because it's, it's easy to say, you're important and it's important to think about yourself and prioritize that. But, obviously you don't want to be a terrible human being and put everyone else in like a place of being hurt or mistreated or something like that. So you would have to find, I guess, a balance and kind of figure that out. But I think it's important that you guys know for yourselves, obviously, and we're going to be assertive too. So if you guys have an idea and, you know, it's something we don't like, obviously we're open to the idea in the first place. Yeah. But we're not going to, like, completely bend to other people. You gotta so just like that, you guys shouldn't just, you know, bend to whatever we're doing as far as the podcast. And if there's something you want to see, you know, let us know, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But there's no reason not to let us know, because if you got something that you want to see, there's a pretty good chance that other people do too, and there's a pretty good chance that it's something we maybe just didn't think of as far as like what we're doing, because we're not we're not the best thinkers in you know all aspects of the sense of thinking. So there's a lot of stuff that we've you know not even really thought about until last minute or waited too long.
Hey, but that's kind of how this is though. You know, we're just kind of winging it.
Yeah, we're just kind of going with what happens.
Going with the flow.
Doing whatever we want to do.
Hell yeah.
But something you say might be something we want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. I personally really like the idea of the shorter episodes. Because I think that would be nice. Because I know myself personally, it's hard for me to like pay attention to things. Yeah. Because like usually it's hard for me to just sit down and like listen to something without any like stimulation around me. Because I'm a very distracted person.
Usually when I listen to like a podcast or an audiobook or something along like that, I'm doing something else. Right. It's the same thing as like, you know, like if I'm like walking home or at the gym or you know even just like while I'm playing video games or just doing something. That's when I'll have something that I'm listening to. It's very rare that I'm just sitting there doing nothing but listening to something. Yep. But I think, you know, having those shorter form things allows for more accessibility for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely like the idea of like expanding to doing kind of newer things.
I'm just stuff. Interested in, you know, trying out new forms of content and stuff. Yeah. Just because this is a lot of fun. Who knows, you know, see what some other stuff is if they're also fun. Exactly. I mean, obviously we can't. There's only so much time in a week, so if we do these other things, who knows if they'll also be weekly. But I do kind of want to try and stay to having this weekly, unless you know something happens or like where we just can't make it happen.
I think we got it. We can keep up with that.
We can make do.
It's a good commitment to have. Yeah. It's another thing, like having scheduled commitments is just like healthy for life.
The problem that I think one of the problems that we're not necessarily running into hugely is we have a scheduled like time that we need to have it posted, but not a scheduled time for us to actually record it. Yeah, that's true. So like we're just like, okay, it needs to be done by Wednesday. When are we gonna find the time? Exactly. And then like maybe we'll find a time, but then we're like, we can do it later. So exactly. I don't know. I think we should probably work on that, because I think if we have that scheduled too, then it's a lot easier.
All I know is that like this is helping me out personally, because it's a scheduled commitment that I have, even if we're like still not the best at planning it or whatever. You know, I don't know. I just know like for people listening, if you make a scheduled commitment and you keep on like following up with it and doing it over and over, you're gonna get better with developing a routine, which is very helpful for life. So I don't know, just stuff like that. It's kind of practicing for the real world.
I think one of the biggest things that helped me with this, and I think it's one of the only reasons that, you know, now have, because I knew that, like, we talked about it before we even, I think, recorded the first one. We were like, okay, we want to do this weekly. We want to make sure it's consistent. We want to make sure that we're putting it out, because then it's really easy if we don't do that to just kind of fall off. Because we're both people that kind of just, like, suck at, like, commitment stuff and forget to do shit. So it's like, we'll do it later. Or like we kind of procrastinate and we forget stuff. So for me, one thing that really helped is that like I didn't even know that this was happening, but he just like, we're posting the first episode on like tomorrow, just like randomly. And I was like, okay, well, I guess we got to do that.
Exactly. State of the commitments.
And then because we kind of set that date, then I knew, okay, now that part's over, it's just we have to do it every Wednesday. For sure. Which, you know, it's kind of nice having it, you know. I just like having the schedule. Right. And I kind of want to schedule more things in my life just because I'm the type of person that...
Exactly. Like, me too, dog.
I forget my chores. I forget, like, all sorts of shit. And then I have to be, like, either, you know, scolded or reminded or whatever to do them because I had forgotten to do them because I hadn't had, like, I was like, I'll do it, you know, eventually today. I didn't have a time where I was like, I'm going to do this when I get home at like 3:30 or like before I go to sleep. It just fucking
happens.
Just like, even if it's not necessarily a specific time, but just like a relative to some action.
As long as you get it done. As long as you get it done before the deadline. But yeah.
For me, it's just like I can't do that. I need to schedule things. So I'm going to start doing that with more. That's one of my goals that has been partially, I guess, melded by doing this podcast and noticing that having something scheduled, it makes it a lot easier for me to kind of like reach out and say like, oh, hey Taj, like we got to record this, or like if you reach out, I'm like, oh yeah, we do have to get that done by Wednesday. Or
that's the thing too, is if you have like someone else who like can hold you accountable and you hold them accountable, it's like very nice.
And I think that's going to be a good foundation for me to start with. You being able to hold me accountable for this, and then maybe eventually I'll be able to hold myself accountable for other things in my life, and keeping those things scheduled.
For the viewers at home, man, find a homie who can hold you accountable.
Yeah, for just like anything, I think it's always important.
Also with the gym too, me and Jackson got gym memberships at the same gym, and it's like we need to start holding each other accountable to like going together and stuff.
Because like I have gone significantly less than I guess like I hoped to initially, and it's just because it's like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it like next week or tomorrow or something, and then I'm like, that time comes and I'm like, yeah, but I want to go home and like eat. I want to eat some food.
But that's the thing, it's like when you this dude told me yesterday, he was saying like, it's like when you don't want to go to the gym the most, that's the most important time to go. Because if you break yourself out of that cycle, then you'll get used to it. You know, it's like if you fight like the easy way, if you always take the easy way, it's going to be way easier for you to take the easier way. But if you get used to taking the harder way and challenging yourself, life is going to be so much easier in every aspect.
It's just a habit to build. I think there's certain just habits that are good to build. And even if it's not that like every time there's an easy way and a hard way, you have to go with the hard way. I think it's having the capability to choose. And having the option to choose rather than being...
And not feeling weak about it.
And not feeling, and just being able to be like, rather than just always being... able to take the easy path because it's easier.
Because that's the thing with depression too. It's like sometimes you can just feel powerless. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my god, like I don't even have the motivation to like do this or whatever.
So then you just don't do it.
Exactly, right. And it's like you got to build up that like you got to you got to take baby steps. You know, you got to make like the small decisions like over and over, like as much as you can to take the hard way, and then it'll get easier to take the bigger decisions. You know. Like one thing for me right now is I'm debating for like my future. You know, I don't know if I'm like gonna go straight into a career or like to college. So I'm not really sure about that whole situation. But it's about like, I don't know. As of right now, I don't know. I feel like college is the harder decision because it's like it's gonna take more effort. But that's kind of the one that I should take. You know what I mean? So
I mean, it depends on what you want to do, though. That's the thing, right? Because like for me, for a long time, I was like, okay, I'm gonna even like mostly before like high school, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to college. I'm gonna do this, and even like junior year is the first year where I've been like, okay, I don't know if I really want to go to college because school has always kind of just worked for me. And like I've been able to do really well in that environment. I mean, I did have to like push myself and work hard, but it's starting to become a thing. Not where it's like too like the work isn't necessarily too difficult. It's still stuff that I'm capable of. It's just that environment and that type of work doesn't like work well with me. And I'm having a hard time
be motivated
doing it and staying motivated to do it. And part of me, because of that, thinks another 4 years of school, I don't know if I can do that. I think, maybe another 2 years doing an associate's degree or, doing an apprenticeship at a trade thing, because that's more like hands-on and stuff like that rather than doing like worksheets or like a desk job or homework stuff. And like I can work with my mind, I just can't like put it on like paper and just sit there and do work. I have to kind of be doing more stuff that I'm interested in.
You gotta
rather than stuff other people
you gotta let it push you.
Want me to be interested in. So doing like a worksheet for a class that I'm not interested in is really hard for me, where it's like, even if the class, could be something I'm interested in, so I would rather find maybe like something to work on my own time related to that I'm interested in, so I'm more motivated to do my best to work on it. But I think overall it's been this weird awakening where I'm like, okay, I need to figure out and think more about what I want to do, because I don't know, like I think a lot of the jobs I want involve going to college first, but the actual process of going to college kind of sucks for me.
For sure.
But one thing also is, I don't have to go to college right after high school. Like, I can wait
Yeah,
until I've decided what I actually want to do, rather than spending thousands of dollars to do that originally.
Yeah.
So even, like, one thing I've been thinking about is because a lot of the trades to get into them, it's free, and then it's just a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
I could do that, get that training, work on it, do it, and if I enjoy it, I can continue doing it. But because I didn't, if I didn't enjoy it and I wanted to move to going to college, first of all,
it'd be pretty easy.
I'd have money to go to college.
Yeah.
Second of all, I wouldn't feel like if it was the inverse situation where I started with college and did a trade, that I wasted a ton of money going to college, and then didn't end up using that degree. So I'm kind of thinking about these options of, maybe not necessarily saying, oh, I have to do one or the other, but how to do both and see what I'm more interested in. And kind of see what I want to do, because I don't know, man. I don't know what I want to do. It's been a huge thing trying to figure out what to do after.
That's one thing I struggle with, is like thinking about the future, because it's easier sometimes for you to just like I don't know, like I think I talked about this a few episodes ago, with like distracting yourself. It's like social media and like our phones and stuff. It's like we crave distraction so much that it like pushes out the things that we need to think about, Like, whenever I think about the future and what I'm going to do, it's like I get this anxiety that, like, drives me to kind of do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I stay away from that anxiety, which it's good anxiety, you know what I mean? It comes from a good place. It's helping me out. But I stay away from it by, like, going on my phone or, like, playing video games, distracting myself and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I'm just, like, I'm so, like, that's what my brain is, like, wired into right now, is, like, craving distraction to distract me from the things that I need to do. And I've found that, like, once I actually take, like, moments to just, like, stop distracting myself, I learn so much. And it's, like, I just think, like, damn, if I took 15 minutes every single day to just like, think, exactly. Yep. I feel like I could get so much done. And that's why I want to start, like, meditating and shit. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people think that shit's weird. But, like, I've tried it
Even if you're not, like meditating and, like, if you're not, like, a spiritual person or, like, a religious person,
it just helps. For that person. You can't deny that shit.
Yeah, just sitting there relaxing and thinking. Yeah. Or even just sitting there relaxing and clearing your mind of all of the things that are being stressful that isn't good stress. I think it's important to kind of take that time every day to do that.
Yeah. I feel like that fits with, like, the creative outlets we were talking about, kind of.
It's just, it's a way to manage, I guess, yourself and like what's going on in your head, I guess.
It's like letting your thoughts flow freely without like external stimulation that's like distracting you.
I think in some cases though there is like some, I guess, external stimulation. So for me, one of those strategies for me to not be able to ignore those like topics that kind of stress me out, like thinking about what I'm doing after school, is starting the conversation with somebody else about it. So like I'll talk to you or a friend and I'll be like, hey, I don't know what I want to do. Do you have any ideas of what you're going to do? And having that conversation then holds you accountable that you have to finish that conversation about it. Yeah. You have to continue talking about it.
Very true.
So you're going to get some thinking done about it. And you also have the benefit of an outside perspective and some feedback. And I think feedback's important. Just every, even like, with this podcast, it's nice to have feedback. In life, it's nice to have feedback about what you're doing wrong, but not just about like what you're doing wrong, but also ideas to improve it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Rather than just like, hey, this sucks.
Right. Exactly.
Unless it's like intuitively like, oh, this is how you fix it.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's like, there's a difference between constructive criticism and just outright like, hate.
Yeah. Just like being mean to somebody. Yeah. Like it would be easy to be like, oh, like you're a loser, stinky man, right? Like. You smell bad. It's easier to say you smell bad than be like, oh, you smell bad. You should, like, maybe think about showering. It's kind of a bad example because it's kind of mean regardless. But I think, like...
No, good. That's a good example, though, because, like, you got to tell someone why they're doing something instead of just,
what
like...
I mean. I'm not saying the specific example of, scent, but it's, like, saying not just what's wrong, but why it's wrong and how they can make it not wrong. I think there's more steps to the idea of criticism than people realize, because there's also, on the opposite side of criticism, there's the journey of the actual improvement being made. Even if it's a small journey, like, hey, I'm going to shower more.
Hell yeah.
So, I don't know.
Hey, baby steps, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, steps. And that's a form of criticism. And, I think it's helpful to get that feedback from other people. And I personally really enjoy feedback. But I really don't like just feedback that's just like, oh, you're doing this
wrong.
Yeah,
you got to be good at giving feedback.
You got to be like, hey.
You also got to be good at receiving feedback, though. Because some people take feedback as, like, an attack.
Some people take all feedback as just, like, people
That's like people with, like fucking, like, huge egos and shit.
Yep, that like think they're always right, exactly. And they can't get off their high horse about
exactly, yeah. They take it as an attack. That's one thing. If you notice people, if you're trying to help them and they take it as an attack, just know they have a fat-ass ego that they need to work on.
I think part of it, though, is that if it's something that they also think is a problem, but they don't want to face it as a problem, and they've been trying to suppress that problem, so when someone else brings it up, they're like, nah, it's fine. And they're not necessarily trying to convince you as much as they're trying to convince themselves. I think there's always like that other side where it's like, obviously, you know, if you say something and they're like, no, dude, you're stupid, rather than thinking about it as initially like, oh, they're being mean and stupid, I'm gonna like then also lash out at them, realize that there's probably more to it, and you should probably just like continue being nicer about it.
Be the bigger man.
Be the like bigger man, and either just walk away if you don't want to deal with it, and just be like, okay, you know, that's on you, you can think about it yourself. Or just be like, you know, I'm sorry, didn't realize that, you know, it was something you already thought about, or something like this.
Just sometimes you can't win with some people.
Yeah, you just can't win, and it's not. I don't think it should always be about winning when you're just trying to help somebody improve.
Exactly. Yeah.
You shouldn't have to force somebody to necessarily improve because they're never going to improve.
But
I think bringing it up, it might ring in their ears enough that they'll think to improve on it. But it should never be about winning against somebody else in that situation. Yeah. It should be about just helping somebody out. And if they don't want to accept the help, sometimes there's nothing you can do. Right. And sometimes you just have to say, fuck it. You know, I can't help you. You're not going to take the help.
Yeah, if people's egos are blocking them, it's like it's borderline impossible to
it's actually like it's the hardest thing ever to try and get them. Especially if it's, you know, something that they're super attached to. If it's just like a small thing, a lot of the time you might be able to break through. But
that's the thing too with like addiction is like when people are addicted to substances, it's really hard to talk to them about it just because like they're like the substance blocks them from seeing the truth about the substance, you know? Like, you can't see yourself.
Or maybe they do deep down, but they don't want to...
Exactly, deep down.
They don't want to confront that.
Exactly, yeah. And the substance helps them kind of ignore it, you know what I mean? Like, if you smoke cigarettes or you vape or whatever, you're going to think, like, oh, well, this isn't that bad for me. Yeah. But then if you take a break from it, you're going to actually then start realizing, like, oh, shit. Like, this is bad for me. And it's because, like, you don't really realize that when it's going on. But once you get out of it, you really, like, start to learn that shit.
And another thing about that is it's, like, you can't get someone, like, sending someone unwillingly to treatment or something like that, it doesn't work because someone literally cannot be helped unless they want to be helped.
That's true, but I feel like it takes a lot of like you gotta have a fucking huge ego to go through treatment the whole time just not learning shit.
But I'm saying like you got before you send somebody to treatment or send your kids to treatment,
they gotta be.
You should have a conversation with them so that they can you know kind of talk to you. And I think that's a huge part of just being in a family with someone that's like addicted to something or just like abusing a substance is. You know, a lot of people either like to get super upset about it or super, you know, they just don't want to talk about it and they just, like, ignore it. I think it's important to just have the conversation, but, like, respectfully and, like, try and be understanding and open-minded. And then that way the person won't feel as, I guess, attacked and aggressed upon. Yeah. And they'll feel more like they can talk about, you know, their reasonings or, you know, what they're doing and how they see it. And I think it's important to see that perspective and be open-minded.
But that's the thing, too, is, like, yes, you should definitely talk to them about it, but if they do say no, it's, like, at that point, like, what do you do, like, not send them to treatment? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean, I still think, I don't necessarily think you should just not, but I think having the conversation first.
Very important.
To get a better understanding, and I think a lot of parents, you know, they...
But, like, it brings it back to the ego thing, you know what I mean? It's like, people don't want to believe that they have a problem, but deep down, like you were saying, they probably know it, that they have a problem, but they don't want to confront it, you know? But it's like, if you send them to treatment, before they go to treatment, they might be kicking and screaming and saying, no, I don't want to do this. Yeah. But once they get in it, it might be that inner, like, person, like, of themselves that's like, oh, finally, like, I can get the help that I needed, you know?
Yeah, so I think it's a useful tool, but I think it's also, there's a lot of situations, like, treatment's a weird exception, but usually I feel like people, you can't help somebody, they need to want the help. But sometimes you don't know, maybe they do want the help and they don't want to say they want the help because they think it makes them weak or like a coward.
Right.
But
that's
in reality, I think that's the stronger thing to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's what can truly make you a stronger person, is making that decision for yourself to say, okay, something's up, I need help, and I'm going to go seek that out on my own.
Yep. Especially, like, one thing that's, like, that really proves, like, people, especially, like, men, you know, it's like, you think, like, it makes you strong to, like, refuse help and, like, get through things by yourself. Like, that's the stereotypical, like, you know, like, masculine shit. And it's, like, I don't know, I think, like, really, like, being strong, like, no matter what gender you are, if you make yourself vulnerable in front of others and you realize that you can help yourself by making yourself vulnerable. Exactly. Yeah, and it's like realizing what is actually going on and accepting help from others. That is the strongest thing you can do. Not accepting help and, like, just acting like you got it,
having
or, like,
it, like,
suppressing
shield
your
and just, like,
emotions.
acting like...
Exactly, just building up walls. That's some pussy shit right there. I don't know, that's the real pussy shit. I feel like to be strong, you really have to, like, confront things how they are and let yourself be vulnerable.
There's always, like, as you talked about, like, the masculine thing, there's this huge, like, portrayal of what being masculine is. And it's very much like, oh, like, I don't get sad. I'm, like, just always fine. Yeah. And just, like, big, strong, and whatever. And having that expectation, especially for young men, it kind of sucks. Yeah. Because it teaches you to, like, suppress the way you feel.
Exactly, yeah.
And suppress your emotions and what's, like, affecting you, and not talk about the problems you're having. When in reality, I think anyone and everyone should talk about things if they think it's something they should talk about, and should have the ability to be vulnerable and be themselves and be comfortable with that.
That's one of those things where it's like a culture thing, you know? Or like a societal thing. It takes a long time to change shit like that. And it's really important to, like, you know, like, kind of start on that, because male suicides are, like, really high. And it's because, like, no one helps men, you know what I mean?
And it's partially because they don't feel comfortable reaching out for the help because they've been... like,
it's a whole, like, societal
they're not
thing.
supposed to, and because of that, you know, you bottle up all of those emotions and you let them kind of shake around and live inside of you for years, and then at some point you're like, okay, I can't hold
man.
all
Everyone's got their breaking point.
So I think, you know, it's important you know, to face your problems and maybe even face them with somebody and have other people, and if you need somebody to talk to go to a therapist, because it even used to be a thing that, like, going to therapy meant you were crazy. Yeah. Yep. And now a lot of people just go to therapy because...
Like, people would say, like, you need therapy as an insult. You know what I mean? Like, that shit's just, like, nowadays, like, I feel like literally anyone can benefit from that shit.
Yeah, I think
anyone can benefit by talking to someone, even if it's not a therapist. It's just,
especially
like,
because therapy's a lot of money.
Right,
so.
Exactly. If you let yourself be vulnerable in front of anyone or anything, like, I don't know, it's just, like, if you let your feelings go out, even... Let's say you don't trust anyone, you know? Like, we bring it back to the first episode, creative outlets. You know what I mean? You can write poetry about it. You can, like, code that shit into, like, lyrics or something like that. You know what I mean?
Just, like, write it, or, like, get it out somewhere.
Exactly. Don't
even
bottle
if there's no intention of that being shared with other people.
Anything but bottling it
Write
up.
A song. Yeah. You don't have to put it anywhere, but you can write a song.
Right. And that shit's really relaxing.
Yeah, I think it's important, and a lot of people... you know, even if it's not like a lyrics thing with the song, just making a song or like composing music, or there's all sorts of things. There's music, there's visual arts. Man, creative outlets is just great. I'm talking about them all the time. You're gonna get all sick of hearing us talk about creative outlets. You're gonna hear about it every damn week, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
And man, it applies to, like, everything. If you don't hop on a creative outlet move, man, you're just lacking. That's
if you have listened to 3 of these podcasts, and I think all of which we've talked about a creative outlet, even if it was like just a little bit at some point. Right. If you're not thinking about it, at least, man, give it 2 weeks. Yep. You'll be writing songs, painting pictures, doing all sorts of stuff by the end of this. Hopefully, or at least trying them out, finding something you like. Maybe even exercising as an outlet. You know, having that, because exercising is one of those things where you can have that. I guess almost meditation, where it's just time to, like, work through your emotions and improve your mental health and thinking about that while also improving your physical health. And also exercise chemically helps you mentally. So
I think about the craziest shit when I'm working out. Mm-hmm. I don't know. If I'm not listening to the podcast, not this podcast, but if y'all are working out, man, check out the podcast.
It's a great time to listen to the podcast and maybe even reflecting on the things we're saying while working out. And it gives you something.
Get to think about it more.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that there's all sorts of great things you can do just to improve your life. I mean,
hell yeah.
Making sure you have people close to you that you can trust, talking to parents, your friends, just things like that. It's always great to just have as many ways as you can to output and deal with and work
push
through.
Things out. Yeah.
Just work through everything that's going on.
Yeah. Anything that is not bottling it up. Or there's definitely negative ways to cope with things. For sure. And it's people turn to drugs. You know what I mean?
Drugs.
People get high. Self-harm. Exactly.
And I think it's important to have, I guess, creative and
non-destructive,
beneficial, non-destructive coping methods. That are they work with your brain, or you're working with your hands making something.
Yeah.
And even if you can't really think of anything that you want to make personally, make something for somebody else.
Yeah.
Paint your mom a picture, or make your dad a box, or make your sibling a pair of scissors. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Just make something for somebody, because there's always great, or cook your family a meal.
Do things for other people. Make sure people know.
It feels good for you to share what you put a lot of work into with other people.
And it's making sure people know that they're loved and shit too.
And then it helps them reciprocate that love, and it helps you realize that you can have an impact on other people, and that you have a worth as a person. Because other people will be like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And that, obviously, everyone has a value. But, if you're having trouble seeing that, it'll help you, hopefully see that more. And, kind of see that, you are having an impact on other people.
Exactly.
For the better.
Yeah, that's huge, too. Having an impact on other people. If you can see that you've made an impact on other people's lives, it will just make you, so happy. I don't know. There's been a lot of times like that where, if there's a new kid in school, and it's I help them out or whatever, or I, kind of become their friend, it's, just seeing that, you know what I mean? Seeing, from when they first came to school to when, after, it's, how they have, hella friends and, they're doing good in school. It's, that shit... I've seen that, me have an effect on that. That shit's awesome. That's, one of the best
It's great,
I've ever felt.
Or if you see somebody that, they don't have... Or, when there's, a group assignment and they're like, oh, find a partner, and you see someone that doesn't have a partner.
Hell yeah.
And you know that you have, a few friends and they'll find partners and stuff. Right. Being that person's partner and getting... Not only do you get to know somebody new and, have a conversation with someone that you might not have had that conversation with, and maybe make a new friend yourself... Right. But you're also, giving somebody a little less stress. Because I know, whenever that happens and it's oh, I can't find a partner or something, it's kind of stressful because you're shit.
And it's also, don't be a sheep, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't just, kind of follow and not...
Don't follow what everyone else is doing, you know what I mean? Don't take the easy way out.
And don't avoid people because other people are...
It's also...
Don't take the easy way out.
Also, it's you got to think about what you can do to make yourself stick out. That's what will make people notice you, is if you do things that separate you from the rest of the people, if you don't be a sheep, you know what I mean? It's that will be hugely beneficial for who you know and how they think of you, you know what I mean? First impressions, if you stick out and you don't just do what everyone else does, a lot of times I'll feel pressure to do what everyone else is doing.
But it's important to just do what you want to do and be yourself.
Exactly, yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you make friends doing what everyone else is doing, you're not, you as yourself, you're not making friends. And those people, if you do start acting like yourself, are gonna not. They're possibly not gonna like you. It's better to just be honest. Honesty is huge.
Yeah,
I think lying is really easy.
Right. But don't let what other people think distract you from what you want.
Yeah, just be yourself, and some people will like who you really are, and they'll find you, or you'll find them, and then you'll end up with friends that are going to be way more valuable, and that you can truly be friends with and be open with and vulnerable with, rather than people that only like you because you act like they do or like other people do that they like, or like things like that. I think it's important just to be honest with yourself and with others about who you are and anything.
Yeah.
And I think, I've lied in my life before. I think most people have.
Everyone.
But it's
a human instinct, man.
And it's because it's really easy to just tell like a small lie because then you don't have to face the immediate like problem. But I'm starting to, notice as I get older, it's valuable to just like not lie.
Yeah.
And I used to lie like actually a lot when I was, younger. But I'm starting to realize like why? Like you just tell the truth and then like you'd be done with it. And if you get in trouble with like a teacher or your parent because like you did something wrong, then it's over with. Right. You can improve on it. You at least were honest rather than what if you lie. Then you have to keep up this lie. Yeah. It's a lot of like work. It's a lot stress.
It's a lot of stress.
They find out eventually, usually, and then you have to
just a whole lot.
Then
of
you
bullshit.
have to confront it anyway, and you had all that other stress of keeping it under. And you had to build other things on these lies, and then it all crumbles down. So I think you should be honest.
Whole fiasco for no reason.
Just tell the truth. I think
exactly.
That's honestly, and not even just to other people. I think to yourself.
Right.
Be honest with yourself, your friends, your family.
Hell yeah. Especially with your family too. Like I went through this little phase where I was kind of a troublemaker. I still am. But it got pretty bad at a point, and I was just like, I was literally so used to lying to my parents that I got super good at it,
Yep.
And it's like I became like this like stone cold like master fucking liar, you know what I mean? And like it was good because I got to like go places or whatever. I got to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do. But it catches up with you,
Yep.
And it's like also it's like now that I'm not really as much like in that phase, I'm not really running around like doing crazy shit as much. But like I don't know. It's like I just like I still find myself like lying to my parents when I don't need to, just because it's like that's the path that's been carved into my brain. And it's like lying.
And for you it's the easy way out.
Exactly.
At least for like a moment.
Exactly. And it's like when the more you take the easy way out, the more you grow into that when you're developing. It's like that's what you learn. You know what I mean? Like that's just what you know.
Yeah.
So it's like I gotta switch that up fast before my brain's like fully developed, So I don't know.
For sure. I think it's definitely like an important thing to just be honest.
Right.
And I think I'm definitely still working on it because it's definitely easy just like obviously, eventually at the end of the day, the outcome like overall is going to be pretty similar, or it's not going to be any crazy effect on your life overall, but it's like, oh, I really want to like do this or whatever, and it's easier to just tell like a small lie and then just not have to deal with it for now.
Exactly.
It's almost like, oh, I'll deal with it later. Yeah. Sweeping it under the rug and just not confronting the problem.
Bottling it up.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think it's a valuable thing to just tell the truth, find a creative outlet.
Yep.
Some great
Get that shit off your chest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, finding someone like, bro, one very important thing is just like finding some. Well, like this, we already talked about this, but conversation.
Like,
Right. It's like as long as you like let yourself be vulnerable to someone, you don't give a fuck what they think, and you can trust them. You
can trust them to hold you accountable to not be a fucking stupid head either.
Exactly.
You can trust them to like be like, oh hey, you have some spinach in your teeth, or oh hey, what you're doing is stupid and like mean and like bad. Yeah. You should like stop doing that because it's like not a good thing to do.
Yeah. Or even if it's like, I don't know, if your friend is like using drugs or some shit,
you like,
you gotta be like ready to confront
being stupid.
them. Yeah, exactly.
And like you should, and even if you're not just like, oh, you should stop.
Yeah.
Trying to find a way to help them kind of work on stopping and maybe not just like, hey, drop it.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, okay, if you are having trouble stopping.
Yeah.
Try and recognize that it is a problem, and then from there, try and be like, okay, maybe try this.
Right.
And like slowly
just help them out with it. Also, don't be afraid of confrontation with your friends too. Yeah. Like confrontation is actually like really healthy. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people are afraid of it, but it helps resolve things and it helps relieve tension.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, I don't know.
Especially because if it's a friend you trust and they trust you, you should trust them that if you're being confronted by your friend about something and it's someone you truly trust, you should know, oh, okay, there's a chance that I'm not, being the smartest or something I'm doing is wrong or is upsetting them. I should probably reflect on it, think back on it.
Right, yeah.
And, you know, they're trying to help me. They're not trying to be mean. I trust them to be that person. They're my friend. Why would they want to be mean to me?
And even if your ego blocks you from seeing that too, it's like later you're gonna see it. You know what I mean? It, like you said, like it'll kind of crawl into your skin. Like it'll get to you and you'll realize like after a little bit, if you keep on people, if you stay persistent with your friends, even if they don't want to hear what you have to say and it's important, it'll get to them. Mm-hmm. That's one thing I've noticed is like if you really want to get to someone and you really keep bringing things up, it'll get to them after a while. You know, even if they're stubborn. I don't know.
And I think like also the whole thing about confronting your friends that are people you trust, especially, and being confronted by people you trust. That's part of just making friends that you trust. Mm-hmm. To not care about like an image that you're keeping up, but more care about you. So you know if they're confronting you, they're not saying, "Oh, what you're doing isn't like what I think you should be doing," as much as what you're doing is something that I think you shouldn't be doing in the matter of like, I want to help you, not I want you to be a certain way, I guess. Which there's a small difference in like, I guess, saying that. But anyway, having those friends that like you for who you are, not for the way you dress, the way you act at school, the people that you're friends with, things like that. It's just important to have that kind of relationship. Even if you only have like one friend that's like that, or like it's a parent that's your friend like that. Just having one person in your life that you can trust to like actually truly care about who you are, and then also hold you accountable to be the best you and not do some stupid shit that's gonna, you know, genuinely impact you negatively.
Even if it's hard to call your friends out, like, you know, like, seriously, do it in a joke, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or take some, like, baby steps on, like, if they have, like, some shit on their face or some shit in their teeth, be like, make sure to call them out. Or, like, if they have, like, something or they spilled something, just, like, it's easy to just be like, oh, I don't want to call them out because it sounds like I'm being mean, even in, like, a situation like that. But it's like, no, they probably want to know if they have something in their teeth. So that they can get it out of their teeth so they don't look stupid.
Yeah, you can definitely draw a line between, like, or not draw a line, but, like, you can make a connection between, like, seeing something in someone's teeth, and it's like, yeah, you should call them out for it, because they would want to, like, know later, you know? And it's like, if you see a character flaw in one of your friends starting to develop, like, if you see them
or, like, a bad habit.
Right, exactly. If you see them being mean to someone, like, over and over, or, like, say they, you know, like, they start to use drugs or something, it's like, yeah, they're going to want you to call them out, you know? The last thing they want you to do when something is like, when other people can see something in you and you can't see it, last thing they want you to do is just like, not talk about it.
Because they want to not, you know, have food in their teeth.
Yeah. Because that's the thing is, like, you have the power as a friend to see things that your friend can't see in themselves. You know what I mean? That's the part of, like, with ego. It's like, no one can truly see how they are and how they are perceived by other people, because it's impossible. You know what I mean? It's hard to, you can't see yourself from a third party perspective.
And I think it's one of those things where it's also just
okay, I wouldn't say impossible.
Yeah.
I definitely take that back. But it's, I don't know, it's a hard task to accomplish.
It's one of those things though where it's like, also just think yourself, like, would I want food in my teeth and have a friend that saw the food in my teeth and didn't say anything? Yeah. And then I was walking around all day with spinach in between my front teeth. Yep. And people were probably looking at it, and because they weren't my friends, they didn't want to call me out. I want my friends, out of anybody, to call me out and be like, hey.
Exactly.
You gotta look good, bro. You gotta look good for the rest of the day.
Hell yeah.
You can't be running around with 4 ounces
and that's
of
the thing.
spinach.
It's like the first day you see something, like, let's say you see your friend, like, using drugs or something. It's like the first day you see it is the most important, because you don't want it to be 2 years later, and then you're telling them, oh, yeah, bro, like, you should probably stop that shit. It's like, nah, bro, as soon as you see that shit, you gotta call them out.
Because that's when it's the easiest for them to stop.
Exactly. It's the easiest for them to stop, and the easiest for you to call them out.
And the easiest for them to just, like, see it as a problem.
Right.
Because, you know, drugs chemically affect your brain to think, like, oh, this isn't a problem, like, it's fine.
Exactly,
It's making me feel, like, better, so it's not having any, like, other negative effects. So that wall kind of builds as it goes on.
Right. Also, for those listening, drugs includes vaping. That shit is fucked up, dog.
Nicotine is completely included.
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, you could say it doesn't, but you're wrong, and you need a friend to call you out.
I know, yeah, definitely, for sure.
I'll call your ass out, bro.
Yeah. Hey, man, I've been there. I've been the friend being called out a lot of times.
I've been called out for some shit, too. I try and be very, like, thoughtful about everything I do, and, like, things like that. I try and think before I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
But everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does stupid shit. Everyone needs to be, you know, reminded that what they're doing is stupid.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. And, you know, you can be the friend that can do that. And that way, if you do that to someone else, you can also trust them to notice when you're being stupid, and they can hold you accountable for what you're doing.
Hell yeah.
And be like, hey, you're being an idiot. Remember when you told me that I shouldn't be doing this? You should stop.
Yep.
Remember when you told me that I had spinach in my teeth and that I should get it out of my teeth? Well, you should stop doing crack.
Exactly.
It's like, you know, it's the same thing.
If you hold your friends accountable, they will hold you accountable. You can expect them,
even if it's out of, like, some bullshit where they're like, oh, you know what? You said this. Well, now I'm going to say this so that you're not a fucking hypocrite. Exactly. Even if it's just out of some bullshit, being held accountable one way or another, you know, depends on how your friends
it's healthy.
Act. But
a lot of things that can be perceived as negative are actually super positive in, like,
and then the other way around, like, as well.
It, yeah.
A lot of things that people see as, like, positive or fine or good are definitely not.
Right, yeah.
And it's definitely easy to only
like,
look at
letting your friends do their thing, like, yeah, bro, sure, that's pretty cool in some scenarios, but if they're fucking, like, I don't know, if they're out there, like, doing some weird shit with girls or something like that, like, you gotta say something, you know what I mean? If they're doing drugs, you gotta say something, like, shit like that, I don't know.
And even if, you know, you say it and then they say no, and you're like, okay, well, this, and this, and then they're kind of refusing, but not necessarily completely pushing back. Even if you kind of just drop it then, bring it up again later. And just, like, even if you're not bringing it up as, like, a huge, like, focal point and you're just not, like, constantly pestering them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes some people will then, you know, do things more because they're like, oh, this is fine. I'm going to prove something. Just bring it up every once in a while so that they think about it. And then giving them that time to also think about it and reflect on what you said.
Yeah.
So saying, like, hey, I think you should stop doing this. It's not the best thing to be doing. And then they're like, oh, no, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And be like, all right. And then, you know, give them a day to think about it or something. And then bring it up again somehow in another conversation the next day. And keep doing that until maybe it'll bounce around enough neurons.
Exactly. That's definitely one thing that, like, I've experienced. Like, I had someone who was close to me in my life going through addiction. And I told them, like, yo, like, you know, like, you're kind of, like, this is kind of becoming a problem. And he was like, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it kind of is becoming a problem or whatever. And then he got kind of mad. And then it's like, you know, I kept bringing it up over and over. And he, like, kept, like, kind of denying it. But, like, you know, the more you bring it up, the more you can see in their face that they kind of realize that it's true and that they know what you're going to say. And it ended up working after a while. Like, this person, they stopped doing the thing that they were doing, you know? And, like, that was, like, I didn't even notice it because it took kind of a while.
Yeah, and it just kind of slow, just like you kind of slowly reminded them. It slowly
exactly. Like you said, it bounces around in their head a lot. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, and then, like, you know, even if it makes the difference of, like, once, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I won't do this right now.
Yeah, right. Be persistent.
Just
you know
like
what
that
I mean?
one time.
Never let someone, like, I don't know, stop letting you help them, I guess.
Yeah, like, I mean, you should always try and help people, even though, like, they can't necessarily be completely helped without wanting to be helped. That might help them realize that they want to be helped.
Yeah, it can set something off in their brain, you know?
It's important to keep attempting help for somebody until they realize that that help is needed, and then they know that they have that help because they know that you're there for them and you're there for them to help them and help them, you know, deal with whatever they're doing.
Yep, be there for your friends and your family.
For sure. Be there for just anyone that you can be there for. Obviously, you don't want to be there at the expense of being there for yourself. You want to be there for yourself first and foremost.
Keep a good balance.
You have to be there for yourself to be there for others, for sure.
Yep.
And you can't really help other people with, like, all of their problems if you're still lingering on, like, a ton of the same problems.
That's true, yep.
But one benefit, if someone's having the same problem as you can try and work through it together with a friend.
Yeah.
And helping somebody might be the help that you need personally.
Exactly.
Telling somebody that what they're doing is stupid and it's something you're doing might be what you need to then realize that it's stupid.
Exactly. That's the thing with people say, like, teaching someone something helps you learn it infinitely times better than just learning it. Same thing with helping somebody, you know? Helping somebody and teaching someone how to be helped, you know? That will help you learn in the same way. Exactly. Like,
and then get that help.
Know. Yeah. I think it can never turn, like, negative, really, if you're just helping someone, you know?
I mean, I guess there's always, like, a way to help somebody and always ways that they can take it in a different way.
Right, true.
Or ways that, like, they might hold a grudge against it.
But even, like, you can learn from that and they can learn from it. Exactly.
There's something to be had with helping people. And I think it's important to, hold your friends accountable for that stuff and help your friends, because that's, honestly, holding your friends accountable is a way to help them do the right thing. Yeah. And I think, I don't know. That's a great way to deal with your friends and others. Yep.
So we're coming up on 55 minutes right now. But I think I really like this episode. I think we talked about some very important stuff for sure.
And don't forget to, like, give us feedback on all of the episodes in the past.
Exactly.
We will check any emails we get, any tweets we get.
We read all the comments, by the way. All the comments, all the
any
feedback.
Comments, any feedback, we'll read it all.
She makes me so happy.
We'll see it all. So any sort of feedback that you have to help us improve our little podcast or our little thing that we're doing is always appreciated.
Thank you if you tuned in this far. Hell yeah. But we're tuning out. So catch you guys on the flip side.
Later.
Adios.